There have been some videos and social media posts circulating online lately about Bill Gates and a vaccine that he proposed to fight the coronavirus, which will supposedly lead to the mark of the beast. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but before I do, if you haven't downloaded the Amazing Facts app yet, make sure to do that before continuing to watch this video. The Amazing Facts app is a free Christian app which includes sermons, Bible studies, answers to difficult Bible questions, a Christian blog, and more. Click on the link in the video description to download the Amazing Facts app on iOS or Android today. Back to Bill Gates, his vaccine, and the mark of the beast. First of all, it's no secret that Bill Gates is a big proponent in finding a vaccine to combat the coronavirus. An online post entitled, "Bill Gates on a Coronavirus Vaccine, the Major Issue is Time" by Yahoo Finance states, "The ultimate solution, the only thing that really lets us go back completely to normal and feel good about sitting in a stadium with lots of other people, is to create a vaccine," Gates said last week. "And not just take care of country, but take that vaccine out to the global population so that we have vast immunity and this thing, no matter what, isn't going to spread in large numbers." Now, wanting a vaccine to cure COVID-19 is not suspicious in and of itself. It's what Bill Gates said next that raised people's suspicions. An online post entitled, "Bill Gates wants to microchip people to help fight off diseases like the coronavirus" by CuriousMost.com reads, "During his Reddit session, Gates discussed digital certificates that reveals who has recovered from or been vaccinated against COVID-19. This has raised the concern of many who fear that the billionaire and philanthropist may want to implant microchips in everyone. But is that fear founded? Did he really say that? The answer is yes. Bill Gates suggested such a thing." The post goes on to say, "However, his most controversial comment was the one he made about digital certificates that would record whether or not someone has been vaccinated against COVID-19. Eventually, we will have some digital certificates to show who has recovered or been tested recently, or when we have a vaccine which has received it," Gates wrote on Reddit. Gates is possibly referring to quantum dot tattoos that are currently being developed by researchers at MIT and Rice University. These tattoos are designed to store each person's health record. Last December, researchers at the two universities stated that they were developing these tattoos after Gates urged them to find a solution to identify those who had not been vaccinated against various diseases. An online post entitled, "An invisible quantum dot tattoo could be used to ID vaccinated kids" by ScienceAlert.com gives more details about what a quantum dot tattoo is and how it works, stating, "For the people overseeing nationwide vaccination initiatives in developing countries, keeping track of who had which vaccination and when can be a tough task. But researchers from MIT might have a solution. They've created an ink that can be safely embedded in the skin alongside the vaccine itself, and it's only visible using a special smartphone camera app and filter. In other words, they found a covert way to embed the record of a vaccination directly in a patient's skin rather than documenting it electronically or on paper. And their low-risk tracking system could greatly simplify the process of maintaining accurate vaccine records, especially on a larger scale. In areas where paper vaccination cards are often lost or do not exist at all, and electronic databases are unheard of, this technology could enable the rapid and anonymous detection of patient vaccination history to ensure that every child is vaccinated," researcher Kevin McHugh said in a statement. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded the team's research, which was published in the journal Science Translation Medicine on Wednesday. I'm sure you can see why some people would be concerned, especially prophecy students. A tracking system embedded in the skin which is intended for all of the inhabitants of the world sounds like the ominous mark of the beast Bible prophecy warns us about. And speaking of the mark of the beast, Revelation chapter 13 verses 16 through 17 says, "He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell, except one who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. All of this is leading some to speculate that the coronavirus vaccine will be mandated to enforce people to receive the quantum dot tattoo, which equates to the mark of the beast. But there are some problems with this interpretation, because the mark of the beast is not a tattoo, neither is it a physical mark, and it's not a technological device. Although technology might be used to facilitate it in the future, but I'll talk about that a little later. But first and foremost, the mark of the beast is over worship. Revelation chapter 14 verses 9 through 10 says, "If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation." Notice, those who worship the beast and his image receive his mark. And apparently, this is worship in a way that violates God's 10 commandments. Because, in comparing those who receive the mark of the beast and are lost, to the saints of God who avoid the mark of the beast, verse 12 says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." So in the future, the world will be led into a false form of worship, which will cause them to receive the mark of the beast. Furthermore, it will be forced upon them. Revelation chapter 13 verse 16 says of the second beast that he causes all of the inhabitants of the world to receive the mark. The word cause implies force. What is this false form of worship, you may be asking? In order to understand what the mark of the beast is, we first need to understand who the beast is. A beast in Bible prophecy symbolizes a kingdom. For example, in speaking about another beast, Daniel chapter 7 verse 23 says, "The fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces." From that we can determine that the beast in Revelation chapter 13 from which the mark comes is a political power. But not only is it a political power, it's a religious power as well, because Revelation chapter 13 verse 4 says, "So they worshipped the dragon, who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, 'Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?'" The fact that this beast receives worship makes it a religious and political power. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get straight to the point about who the beast power is and take the guesswork out of it before we continue. What it's talking about here is the Vatican. The Vatican is both a religious and political power. It's both a sovereign state and the seat of the Roman Catholic Church. As we continue reading more about the description of this beast from Revelation chapter 13, you'll see more similarities between this beast and the Vatican. Verse 1 says, "Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name." I want to focus on the part of the beast having a blasphemous name. The Bible gives 2 definitions of blasphemy. One of those definitions is claiming to be God. John chapter 10 verse 33 says, "The Jews answered him, saying, 'For a good work we do not stone you, but for blasphemy, and because you, being a man, make yourself God.'" The other definition of blasphemy is claiming to have the ability to forgive people for their sins. Mark chapter 2 verse 7 says, "Why does this man speak blasphemies like this? Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Is the Vatican guilty of claiming to be God and claiming to have the authority to forgive people for their sins? Yes. For example, one of the titles of the Pope, the head of the church, is Holy Father. This is what Jesus called the Father in heaven when he prayed to him for his apostles in John chapter 17 verse 11, saying, "Now I am no longer in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you, Holy Father. Keep through your name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are." And this is just the tip of the iceberg. For example, Cardinal Sardo, who became Pope Pius X, said this, "The Pope represents Jesus Christ himself." Pope Leo XIII said, We hold upon this earth the place of God Almighty. And in 1302, Pope Boniface said this in a letter to the Catholic Church. Furthermore, we declare, we proclaim, we define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman Pontiff. However, in speaking about Jesus, Acts chapter 4 verse 12 says, "For there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved." And in terms of forgiving people for their sins, both popes and priests claim the right to do this. The Catholic Church believes that Jesus gave this authority to the apostles, who in turn passed it on to popes and priests. For example, an online post entitled, "Pope Francis Allows Priests to Forgive Abortion" by BBC News states, "Pope Francis has declared that priests have the permanent right from now on to forgive abortions." His remarks come at the end of the Catholic Church's Jubilee year, during which he had temporarily granted priests this power. Another characteristic of the beast from which originates the mark is given in Revelation chapter 13 verse 2, which says, "The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority." The dragon symbolizes Satan working through the pagan Roman Empire. Revelation chapter 12 verse 9 says, "So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan." And verse 4 says, "And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born." The male child it's talking about here is Jesus Christ, and how the dragon tried to devour him as soon as he was born was through the Roman Empire. In Matthew chapter 2 verse 16, Herod, a Roman-appointed king of Judea, ordered the death of all male children under the age of 2 in Bethlehem and surrounding districts in an attempt to kill Jesus. It says, "Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry, and he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men." Now, in terms of how the Vatican received its power, throne, and great authority from Rome, the book Papal Rights and Privileges explains, "When the Roman Empire became Christian and the peace of the Church was guaranteed, the Emperor left Rome to the Pope to be the seat of the authority of the Vicar of Christ, who should reign there independent of all human authority, to the consummation of ages, to the end of time." That's how the papacy, the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church, obtained the throne of Rome. And in terms of how the papacy gained power and authority from Rome, the book The Rise of the Medieval Church explains, "The removal of the capital of the empire from Rome to Constantinople in 330 AD left the Western Church practically free from imperial power to develop its own form of organization. The Bishop of Rome, in the seat of the Caesars, was now the greatest man in the West, and was soon forced to become the political as well as the spiritual head." I can go on and on about the beast who has a mark in the book of Revelation symbolizes the Vatican, because there are many more details to confirm that, but I think I proved my point. So now that we know who the beast is, we can discover what its mark is and identify the mark of the beast. C.F. Thomas, Chancellor of Cardinal Gibbons, in an answer to a letter regarding the change of the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, said, "Of course the Catholic Church claims that the change was her act, and the act is a mark of her ecclesiastical power and authority in religious matters. The Catholic Church claims that the Sunday Sabbath is a mark of her authority." Another example of that is demonstrated in a book entitled Plain Talk About the Protestantism of Today by Louis Gaston Ségur, a French Catholic bishop, which reads, "Thus the observance of Sunday by the Protestants is a homage they pay, in spite of themselves, to the authority of the Catholic Church. The Sunday Sabbath is false worship because the Bible endorses the observance of the seventh day of the week as the Sabbath, which corresponds to Saturday. Exodus chapter 20 verses 8 through 11 says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." That's the fourth commandment, and the Catholic Church openly admits to changing the Sabbath, but no one has a right to change God's law. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 2 says, "You shall not add to the word which I command you, nor take from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you." And in the future, Sunday worship will be enforced by law, and once that happens, that will constitute the mark of the beast. In case you think that's far-fetched, there are already voices calling for Sunday rest. For instance, on April 4th of this year, Fox 5 New York uploaded a post to their Facebook page asking if stores should be closed on Sunday to allow staff a day off to recuperate. It got 25,000 likes and 7,000 shares. Also, Mayor Cam Guthrie of Guelph, Ontario, uploaded a post to his Twitter account on March 22nd saying, "Just putting this out there for consideration. Once we kick COVID-19's butt, I'd suggest that everything be closed on Sundays again so that we can appreciate the importance of what taking a pause in our busy lives really means. I think our body, mind, and soul would thank us." The Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph number 2188 says, "In respecting religious liberty and the common good of all, Christians should seek recognition of Sunday and the Church's holy days as legal holidays." Seeking recognition of Sunday as a legal holiday means trying to get the state to enforce Sunday rest and worship by law. Pope John Paul II said no less in his encyclical entitled Dies Domini, stating, "Therefore also in the particular circumstances of our own time, Christians will naturally strive to ensure that civil legislation respects their duty to keep Sunday holy. In order for civil legislation to respect Sunday, a law needs to be made to enforce its observance." So why is it important for the Catholic Church for Sunday rest and worship to be mandated by law, you may be asking? Because it's a sign of the Church's authority. So by keeping Sunday holy, you are submitting to the authority of the Catholic Church. But it goes deeper than that. It's ultimately part of Satan's rebellion against God. It's his way of undermining the authority of God and stealing God's glory. Satan is ultimately responsible for the change. Remember, the Catholic Church got its authority from the dragon, which symbolizes Satan. So the Roman Catholic Church is an agency of the devil. Now, that doesn't mean that all Catholics are bad. There are many sincere, God-loving Catholics out there. But the religious institution of the Catholic Church is corrupt and under the direction of Satan. By accepting the Sunday Sabbath, especially when it becomes enforced by law, you are submitting to his authority. According to the Bible, observing the seventh-day Sabbath is a sign of allegiance to God. Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 20 says, "Hallow my Sabbaths, and they will be a sign between me and you, that you may know that I am the Lord your God." When you observe the Sunday Sabbath, you pledge your allegiance to the agency that changed it, which firstly is the Roman Catholic Church, but ultimately it's Satan. So now that we have discovered that the mark of the beast is enforced Sunday worship, what does it mean to receive it on your right hand or your forehead? This is not meant to be taken literally, but symbolically. Your hand in the Bible symbolizes work. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 10 says, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going." Those who receive the mark of the beast on their hand do so they can continue working, so they can continue buying and selling. Those who receive the mark of the beast in their forehead believe that the mark of the beast is something good. The forehead represents the mind, so receiving the mark of the beast in your forehead means that you are deceived by it. By the way, the mark of the beast will start in the United States and then spread globally. Revelation chapter 13 mentions a second beast which will help enforce the mark of the beast. Verse 11 describes this beast having two horns like a lamb, and it speaks as a dragon. A lamb is a symbol for Jesus Christ, so this nation starts out as a Christian nation, but ends up becoming oppressive like the devil by restricting religious liberty. The United States was founded on Christian principles, including the separation of church and state, but that's going to change in the future. Church and state will unite to enforce Sunday worship upon the residents of the United States. Those who reject Sunday worship will be persecuted and eventually a death decree will be issued against them. If you think this can't happen, calls for Sunday laws have already been proposed in America. In 2015, Senator Sylvia Allen of Arizona proposed a bill to mandate church attendance on Sunday during a gun bill debate.
And how we get back to a moral rebirth in this country, I don't know, since we are slowly eroding religion at every opportunity that we have. Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday.
If you've enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell. Click all in the menu that appears, and make sure notifications are turned on in your YouTube app on your mobile device so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Bill Gates recently proposed vaccinating the world and implanting people with microchips to combat the coronavirus. This concerns some prophecy students because the Bible warns that the mark of the beast will be placed in people's right hand or forehead. Now, technology similar to what Bill Gates proposed may be used to track people who reject the mark of the beast in the future, but it's not the mark of the beast in and of itself. The mark of the beast is enforced Sunday worship, which will start in the United States and then spread globally. If a vaccine for the coronavirus is developed successfully in the future and it includes a microchip implant, will you receive it? Let me know in the comments section. Also, most of the time when I talk about the coronavirus, YouTube demonetizes my video, which means I earn little to no ad revenue. I depend on ad revenue to help keep my channel going, so if you have been blessed by this video and you would like to help support my channel so I can continue making Christian videos on a regular basis and updates about the coronavirus, feel free to become a patron or make a one-time PayPal donation in any amount by clicking on the link to my Patreon or PayPal account in the video description. Your support helps keep my channel going. If you enjoyed my video, feel free to like it and share it. Click on the screen to check out some more of my videos. I have a lot of good Christian videos, which I'm sure you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.